Welcome back. Over the past 3 days, we've begun considering how God initiated and continued the concept of man being able to fellowship and communicate with him. This activity that we refer to as prayer was something that God initiated, not man. But man turned away from God and began to serve themselves, being led astray by their own lusts and the evil influences of the demonic side of the spiritual realm. We read of this fall into decadence and Yahweh's reaction in Genesis chapter 6. In verses 1 to 8 we read, "Now it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. And Yahweh said, My spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is indeed flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Then Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And Yahweh was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. So Yahweh said, I will destroy man, whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, creeping thing, and birds of the air, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahweh." We continue in verse 13. "And God said to Noah, The end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark, and cover it inside and outside with pitch. And this is how you shall make it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, in its height 30 cubits. You shall make a window for the ark, and you shall finish it to a cubit from above, and set the door of the ark in its side. You shall make it with lower, second, and third decks. And behold, I myself am bringing floodwaters on the earth, to destroy from under heaven all flesh, in which is in the breath of life. Everything that is on the earth shall die. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall go into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And of every living thing of all flesh you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. Of the birds after their kind, of animals after their kind, and of every creeping thing of the earth after its kind. 2 of every kind will come to you to keep them alive. And you shall take for yourself of all food that is eaten, and you shall gather it to yourself. And it shall be food for you and for them. Thus Noah did. According to all that God commanded him, so he did." The world had become extremely evil. We are told, quote, that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. The wages of sin is death. That's not just a New Testament principle. It was God who had declared it from the beginning. Disobedience has consequences. The day that you eat of that tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you will surely die. The wages of sin is death. And here we see how the wickedness, the debauchery, the decadence of the earth, of men on the earth, had become so great that God was brought to the point where he was weary of men, and he had to bring punishment, destruction upon the earth through a worldwide flood. But God didn't want to totally and utterly destroy his creation. So he initiated again the conversation with Noah and told Noah what he planned to do. And in such, Noah, we're told, found favor, found grace in the eyes of Yahweh. But note that Noah had to respond to that communication, to that initiation of conversation that God had with him. Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahweh, and Noah then believed in Yahweh. Noah believed God and obeyed God and did everything according to what God had commanded him. Noah had to believe that God was really going to judge the earth, that he was going to destroy everybody but himself and his wife and his sons and their wives, and that he was going to do it by this massive worldwide flood, something that had never been seen of or heard of before, and that God wanted him to build this massive boat, this ark, in which he was then giving him the specifications and how to build. And not only that, that God then was going to bring to him two of every sort of living thing to him, to the ark, in order that they would then ride in this boat, this ark, along with Noah and his family, and be spared in order to propagate them after this worldwide destruction. That begs the question, do you believe that God can talk to you? We've seen how God spoke to Adam and then how God spoke to Cain. And we can kind of put that aside as the very, very beginning. But here we are, almost 2,000 years later, when God is now speaking to Noah and informing him that the world had gotten to such a point where he was going to bring judgment and that he wanted to spare Noah. And Noah had to believe that God was speaking to him. He had to know the voice of Yahweh and had to be willing to obey. It was going to cause him to make other decisions and to take time into building this boat, probably to undergo ridicule from others who are watching him do this. There are different ways to understand what the days of man being 120 years would be. But most likely it was that God was going to bring this judgment upon them 120 years from that point. And so potentially it was 120 years from the time that Noah received this promise, this word of judgment, to the time when God actually brought it to pass. We're not told how long it was that it took Noah to build the ark. We're not told how long it was after the ark was built to the time that the flood came. But Noah had to believe that God would do what God said he would do. Do you believe? Do you believe that God will do what he declares, and that God also has a desire to have this conversation, this communication, this time of prayer, this fellowship with you? Are you listening for his voice? Or is it only you who talk to him? Take time today to pray. Remember as you pray, Noah. Remember that Noah heard the voice of Yahweh, and by faith he believed, and that he was willing to do what God asked him to do, even though it was going to require a huge commitment. And then have a blessed day.